Welcome everyone to the Rider Happy Hour. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. This one, a post-game reaction following the loss against the Toronto Argonauts over the weekend. I guess it was over on Thursday, but either way, I'm going to have a couple of these this week as we get ready for Labor Day weekend coming up here, but I thought we didn't get a pregame one in, wanted to get a postgame one, wanted to do it a little bit sooner than this, but here we are. So let's get right into it. And the main story from this game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders was simply too many mistakes. This team just screwed up more often than they should have in this game, and that is what cost them. The timeout on 2nd and 17 was odd. Like in that case, if you don't like how the defense is lined up, quite frankly, take a time count. You're on the 1. It is half the distance to the goal, so they just move it like, and that's it. And so to waste the time out, to stop the clock in that spot, I think is really detrimental, and you kind of saw that you kind of saw all that play out. I will say, Suter screwed up on the broadcast, saying that the Riders should have tried to run the clock out. They literally couldn't. The pass on 2nd down was incomplete, and so because of that, the clock stops. So, like, yeah, they maybe could have, like, the kicker could have tried to run around for a few more seconds and then punt the football away, given how the game kind of ended up. But that was a miscommunication on the part of the broadcast there. Trevor Harris had a rough night. There was a few too many mistakes from him. We'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit. But a couple of those interceptions you just can't allow to happen. And then penalties cost them. They have the penalty on the Alford return that sends them back at the 1-yard line. Again, we've talked about this a number of times on this show. Alford is good enough. You don't need to hold. All right? Like, just, if you feel like the guy's beating you, let him beat you. And just let him go, you know? Like, they have had so many back-breaking penalties when it comes to the special teams so far this season that it has really, really set this team back. And I think it was one of the things that cost them this game. So mistakes were the definite big issue. Let's look at the offense, as Trevor Harris does struggle in this game. And he started out great. But then Toronto started winning the field position battle and had Harris backed up, and he made a couple of really bad interceptions. He got spooked with his back basically up against the uprights. And like a couple of those interceptions are just mistakes you can't make. And those are the types of plays that you would expect Patterson to make, not Trevor Harris. And those end up costing him. But it wasn't just that. It was everything was a little bit off in this game. But those ones in particular were really bad because Saskatchewan was in complete control of this game. Toronto had nothing going on, especially offensively. Kelly was doing his best Nathan Rourke impression, and they just couldn't get anything going on the offensive side of things. And that was these 2 interceptions were the spark that really got Toronto back into these football games. But like I said, everything was a little bit off. Like, you have 2nd and 8. After the 3-minute warning, the Riders had the football. It's 2nd and 8. Emlis is coming across on a drag route over the middle, and maybe there was a miscommunication where Harris thought Emlis was going to stop. I don't know why he would on 2nd and 8 stop and to just allow himself to get tackled in that spot. Like, the only way you are converting on that is if you hit him in stride, he does what he does and busts the tackle and gets to the first down. And so the pass being behind him, again, those you would like to see Emlis maybe be able to make an adjustment and make that play, but you lead him there, maybe you get a first down, and this game is a little bit different. It's those types of mistakes and that attention to detail that in a league that right now is this close, you simply can't have. Simply cannot have those types of mistakes happen. It was an uncharacteristic game for him that really hurt the Riders in this game. But a couple of things didn't help him out. One was the offensive line. Harris had pressure in his face all game. And Toronto was able to do that with 4, basically. Like, they were in his face and only having to rush 4, so there was a lot back in coverage that allowed them to go out and make some plays. And that did, I think, kind of hurt Saskatchewan and greatly in this game. And I think that is what led to some of those mistakes, some of those rushed throws, and some of those interceptions was the pressure on Trevor Harris. So the offensive line, it has been something we have talked about, and we're going to talk about it again going into this week's game against Winnipeg. But the offensive line needs to be better for Saskatchewan to have any hope here. And the other one is the play calling. Saskatchewan has become way too predictable on first down. It is run up the middle on first down and have Harris throw for the rest on second second down. And that's not ideal. I think that there is enough analytics and all of that now that shows that it's actually easier to pass on first down. I don't know what it's like in the Canadian Football League specifically, but we have enough data that shows that it is easier to throw on first down because the defense is a little bit more neutral. When it's 2nd and 8, they're geared up for it. And it was a lot of 2nd and 8. Saskatchewan is worse than the league. At least they were coming into this, and I can't imagine it got better. Saskatchewan is bottom in the league in yards to go remaining on second down. And it puts you in a really difficult spot where the defense knows what to do or knows what you have to do, and they're just geared up and ready to go. And so it's become very, very predictable that and it seems like what it was when Patterson was in, you would have, whether it was Ouellette or Hickson, you trust them maybe a little bit more than you trust Patterson, so you try to have them go out and make more of what they can, or make more than they can, I guess, and try to take some of the pressure off your quarterback, but instead it actually puts more of the pressure on the QB. And so I just like Saskatchewan has a lot of really, really, really good offensive weapons. When you think about Emilus and Bain, Myers has come in and been fantastic. Schaefer Baker was back in this game, and you have Hickson and you have Ouellette, generally not at the same time, but you have so many weapons that you can play around with. Or Joe as well. It just feels like the Riders aren't really maximizing it right now because of some of the play calling that they are doing. On the defensive side, those boys stepped up. What a game for the defense. They were put in some really bad spots by how the offense struggled and some of the field position that Saskatchewan left Toronto, and the defense stood tall basically every single time. I said coming into the year on the season preview show that we had that someone on that defensive line was going to have to step up because they just felt like they were a player away. And now they've had a few guys step up. In this game, it was Revis was the story of it. He was phenomenal in the pass rush. He made a couple of plays in coverage, and his run stopping was the main thing that kept that game as close as it was for a long time. A couple of huge stands on the goal line. He was able to come away with and make some really, really good plays on. And that, again, if the Riders won this game, he would have been the reason why they won. He was great. But they had a couple other guys as well. Cox was a stud, getting some pressure on Chad Kelly. And Micah Johnson did a lot of the little things to help your team win. Like, he got to the quarterback a couple of times, but he would take on a double team, and that would allow Cox or someone to get into the backfield. Or, like, while he's getting blocked, he's able to twist and set the edge and kind of keep that contained so Kelly can't get to the outside, and kind of limit him and allow the rest of the rushers to get there and force the guy who obviously wasn't comfortable as the pocket passer to go out and to go out and make some pocket passes and just not feel comfortable. So Micah Johnson was the guy who I thought really did kind of step up for Saskatchewan and allow others to shine. But they had Chad Kelly off balance all game long. They had him on the move. He was making throws that were very difficult, or being forced into throws anyway, that are very difficult for someone who has a full season of practice under his belt and not coming off of a half-season suspension. And so they did great there. And then the run defense was strong. Kadeem Carey might be the best running back in the league, and the run defense stood their ground and kept Kadeem Carey out of the end zone a few times. And again, right up until the end, were real difference makers. But it wasn't all perfect. 3rd and 15, you have to get off the field. Like, there's no other way around it. You have to get off the field in 3rd and 15. And again, I think some of this comes down to play calling. Saskatchewan was doing such a great job and forcing so many incompletions by getting pressure on Chad Kelly. 3rd and 15, like, I get you don't want to get beat or whatever and leave too many openings. But 3rd and 15, they rushed 3, and then it was soft coverage on Ungerer, where he just had all the space around him to go out, makes one move back to the football, and now all of a sudden he is at the sticks, ready to make a play. So I think it was poor play design. I do think there's some execution where you have to, as a cover guy, there was a couple of defenders there. I think, again, I don't know what the call was or whatever, but in that spot, I feel like you should have a guy, like, maybe you don't need to bracket Ungerer, but there should have been someone kind of at the sticks, like just ready. But both guys kind of backed off, and when he made that move, he was able to come back to the sticks, get the catch, and he's there for a first down. So it felt like poor coaching and poor execution. And look, Corey Mace, I've said before, he has done a phenomenal job with this team this year. And he has been so important, I think, to turning this team around. And we have seen the second half of the seasons not go well. If this losing continues for a while, then maybe it's not turned around. But it does really feel like they are building something here in Saskatchewan. And I think Mace is a huge part of that. But it's been a lot of mistakes in the last little bit, and that's been really frustrating. And some of it, like the Ottawa thing, it's not his fault. But there's just been a couple of times where it's like, dude, if you could just get out of your way for a little bit, that would be helpful. And I just felt like there was a couple of times where the coaching and the style of things hasn't really helped out in Saskatchewan all that much. But again, I still think Mace is doing an unbelievable job with this Riders team. It's just a couple of things here and there that have been a little bit frustrating. Speaking of coaches, you guys all know where we're going to go with this. The Saskatchewan Roughrider community lost a real one this week as Ken Miller passed away. Such a sad day hearing of his passing. He was so important to that era of Saskatchewan Roughrider football. And it's crazy to, when you see all the tributes and stuff like that, he was only in Saskatchewan 2008 to 2011. Like it feels like he had been around for a longer time. And just so important to everything that was going on there and left such an impact on those teams. And like, I know that like if you're not first or last and all of that, and so losing a back-to-back Grey Cups is nothing to get really like for a lot of organizations too excited about. That's the first time Saskatchewan had been to back-to-back Grey Cups since the 70s. I might even 66 and 67. Sorry, that was the last time that the Riders had been to back-to-back Grey Cups, and so like that level of success, and even like 08, you think of just the situation that he came in under. They win in 07. Ken Austin is the toast of the town. He quarterbacked the team in 89, and now he's come back and he is the Grey Cup winning coach in 2013 or in 2007, and now leading us into this next generation of. So what's up? Ole Miss? Oh, okay. And so like you have there's just sudden stop of like, well, fuck. Like, that this guy who was supposed to be here was going to lead us into the next level. And then it just kind of felt like Ken Miller was just, like, from the outside, it just kind of felt like Ken Miller was there. And it's like, all right, well, that guy. But they started out, I think it was 8-0 in 2008. And it obviously, it didn't end in a Grey Cup or anything like that. But to be able to, like, okay, this thing has happened. This is something that has greatly affected us and seems like a gigantic negative. Let's push past it. And let's move forward. And he did that amazingly. And then, like, I don't think it's talked about enough how wild it is that Saskatchewan loses in the most just painful ways that any team has probably ever lost a championship game. Like just the other day, TSN had the most what was it? The wildest finishes or the most heartbreaking finishes in sports history, and this was number one. And sometimes those can be skewed because TSN is the rights holder, so they want the CFL to seem like it's maybe a bigger deal. But still, like that you can make a very compelling case that given the circumstances, given the passion for the fans, from the fan base, and given the marketing around the 13th man thing, that was the most heartbreaking way a team has ever lost a championship game. And a lot of teams would have been absolutely forgiven if they came out and they were 4-14 the next year, because that is a heartbreaking way to go about it, and to have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back out there and understand you don't get to start at the last play of the Grey Cup. You have to start from the start again and build your way back there. For him to be able to get these guys to get that focus, get that motivation, and get that execution to where it needed to be to get back into a Grey Cup game is, I think, one of the better coaching jobs you will see. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that one necessarily. But just he was so important to that stretch, and to be able to get the buy-in and get everything out of that is remarkable. And like before Corey Mace, I think he was the last real one to appreciate what this team meant to Saskatchewan and the fan base and the unique connection that there is with Rider fans and with with this team, and he really embraced that, and he was able to get the players to embrace it as well, and see how important what they were doing was to the Regina surrounding area and beyond, to Rider fans across the province and across the country, how important they were to that, and what that responsibility meant. And I do think Corey Mace is doing a good job of kind of getting that back. But Ken Miller, I think, really embraced that, and he just meant so much to that team. And you see the outpouring of emotion and everything from that. He seemed like, obviously, an amazing coach, but he genuinely seemed like an amazing person. And it sucks to hear of that news coming out this week. But the impact, obviously, that he had on Rider fans and the entire organization was second to none. And he will forever be remembered for all of that. And you kind of wish that he would have been the man at the helm in 13 when they were able to sign off on Taylor Field and go out and win a championship there. You wish he would have been the one. But he's still just an amazing life lived and an incredible legacy that he lives, even in just a brief time with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And again, what do Riders do? They ride. He did an amazing, amazing is the best way to put it. And his impact on my, I was going to say childhood. I was 20 by that point. But his impact on my football watching, I will never forget what he was able to do for the team that I hold so close to my heart. So, all right, that's going to do it for this one. Bit of a bummer note to end it on, but again, just an amazing man. And even at 82, gone way too soon. So that is going to do it for this show. Hopefully, I'll be back with one more of these before Labor Day Sunday. I'm going to be in Saskatchewan, watching with friends and family, watching the Riders play at the Bombers. So please don't fuck it up. But I'm hoping to have a preview coming out at some point here this week. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will talk to all of you later. Have a great day, everybody.